Jay and appreciate the hard work and effort that the company is putting in to provide the infrastructure for us to develop our business. I know that Frank works tirelessly in the background and making all these things happen. And also Staffan was on the call yesterday, so we thank him for his participation and his contact and his motivation. And also we have Jay on the call today, and we know that Jay also is working remarkably hard. So these are great examples for us in the field, and we've got great leadership with us today on the call, Vittorio, and especially who's driving force in Italy. Roger, there's you there, and we see I can't see all the windows, but I know that there are many people who are working incredibly hard with the business, and we had a fantastic week last week. So let's keep this momentum going. And what's fundamental, of course, to everything that we're doing to make this just real, sustainable, long-term project is, of course, the production of the fuel. And, as you know, Jay was set up in charge of that department in January to bring that online and to make sure that what needs to be done gets done. And he's done a remarkable job in the last few months under the current situation that's the world is going through. So it's hats off to him on everything that he's been doing. And of course, everybody appreciates, the situation we're in and the difficult situation that we're working through. But when we see the results that's been achieved, at this moment, we got to say that we've done a remarkable job. Everybody's done a remarkable job. The network has done a remarkable job. The company, corporate, have done a remarkable job. So I feel now, and as I said on the call yesterday, that we're really now in a point where we're ready to springboard our business to the next level. So, have confidence in that, ladies and gentlemen, that you are ready to take the business to the next level, but also that you're pioneers. And also what I said on the call yesterday was, in that pioneer phase, you think of it, just go back a year now and just imagine that someone comes to you, you'd never heard about this before. We're going to set up a new direct sales network marketing company. And what we're going to do is something that's never been done before. We're going to go to landfills and rubbish and garbage, and we're going to take that garbage and we're going to convert it into fuel, and we're going to sell that fuel. It's going to be a really amazing fuel, going to be unique placement in the market. It's a niche fuel, and we're going to make a lot of money by trading this on an exchange. I mean, you'd have to say, someone coming up to you just with that idea, you'd have to say, are you nuts? Are you crazy or something, And that really is the beginning where we were at, was that people were ridiculing us and laughing at us, that you're going to do what? Are you for real? And then, of course, once we do get started with the project, no, that will never work. That's impossible. And of course, we had some speed bumps along the way where, things just didn't develop the way that we had expected. We've come through those speed bumps, and we're now coming out the other side with, very strong. And, it's like what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, as you know. And now we're at the point where this is really now becoming self-evident. And these are the three phases of any new concept, new idea that German philosopher Schopenhauer once spoke about. An idea or concept is very new. We'll go through three phases. One is that it'll be ridiculed. And the second is that it'll be violently opposed. And the third phase is that it becomes self-evident. Well, I can tell you now, we're entering that third phase now, where it's self-evident as truth. And this is remarkable in such a short period of time. So we are pioneers, and you got to appreciate that phase that we've gone through and that phase that we're still in. And also now when we're going out to the market, and this is why network marketing is such a powerful vehicle to bring ideas and concepts like this that are revolutionary, that are new in the network marketing industry. As you know, we have amazing products and services that have been conversationally marketed through the years and have become established also now in mainstream. You're going to find all the weight loss products that you want on the internet, on the market. You're going to find all the food supplements that you want everywhere on the market, in health shops and online and you name it. But you're not going to find another opportunity like this where people are taking garbage, plastic waste, and converting it into fuel. You're not going to find that anywhere on the market that people are doing this through network marketing. So we are absolutely pioneers, cutting edge. We're the front end of the spear where we're doing this. So that is an amazing compliment to you also as a community to believe in this and to be part of that pioneer. So give yourself, an applause, for that. Rog, I see that we've gone to 100, so you're going to have to instigate the Facebook link so we can get that out to people.
Well, it's either that. Staffan and I are both recording, so
Let's get the Facebook link out. It's better if people, have the opportunity to follow anything live, please. That would be great. So everybody, you've done an amazing job, and let's hand over to the man of the moment, the rock star in Thailand who's rushing around, doing everything that he needs to do. And I'm not talking about the rock star we had on yesterday, who was sitting at the pool in his t-shirt. I haven't seen this gentleman sitting without his shirt at the pool too often because he's just too busy. He likes to go and suck on some coconuts down in Hua Hin and take a weekend off. That's about the height of it, what he gets up to. But Jay, are you with us today on the call?
I am here. Thank you very much.
Wonderful.
Peter.
I don't need to give you any introduction because, just your content, what you do, what you say just gives you the power, and everybody knows you. So I'm not going to waste any time. I'm just going to cut to the chase. But, from everybody here in the community, everybody online today, we thank you for all the amazing work you're doing. And, you're going to deserve a little break down in Hua Hin pretty soon where you can go down and suck on some coconuts down there.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Peter.
So what do you like to share with us today? I'll just let you have a free rein on our call today. Normally we have an interaction where we ask some, questions and stuff, but I think with this purpose today that we can just let you do your thing. And, then maybe if we have some questions, the people can type in their questions and we can ask you, through the chat, we can moderate that. So fantastic that you're with us, and this will be recorded, I think, as well. Just make sure someone's recording it, Rog, and we can get this out. But off you go, Jay. You have obviously got some things you'd like to share with us and updates and everything.
Yes, once again, thank you very much, Peter, and welcome everyone to the call. Now, as you already mentioned, what I wanted to do today is to give you all a general update about what is the latest news and updates from Socium Development Company. And then at the end of this call, go through any of your questions that you might have. And I would like to ask you to type your questions into the chat or address them for Peter or Roger. And then if I could ask you, Roger or Peter, to moderate those, and we could, for example, then read them towards the end of the call.
Sure.
Very
Can I
good.
just interrupt for a second, Jay?
Sure.
Can I ask Petra just to check to make sure that it can be seen? If people want to put it out there, it is shared on Facebook Live now, okay, as well. So what people can actually do is go to the Amplivo page and you should be able to see it live from there. But Petra, could I just ask if you could just check for me? That would be fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, very good. All right, great. Well, I would like to start off by giving you all a very good update in regards of Socium development. And most importantly is now that we are taking some very big, very good and very effective steps. And the team, both here in Thailand as well as in Europe, has been working around the clock. We like to joke that we are working more or less 24 hours a day because of the time difference being usually when we have people working in Europe, some of the times now there's somebody with a microphone open. Maybe we can see. Okay, better. So yeah, we are many times joking that this company is working 24 hours a day because of the time differences. So when people are sleeping in Europe, we are already in full swing, and when we go to sleep here in Thailand, then still in Europe the work continues. So that's a very positive thing for you to know as well. Now, if you could, Roger, share the satellite picture of the facility, then that would be fantastic. Great. Let's start from this one. So, ladies and gentlemen, you might have seen some of the photos before that we have addressed in, for example, the global call. But here you can see now an aerial photo of the actual facility which we are currently establishing and setting up for our operations. So last time when we spoke about this one was a couple of weeks ago at the global event, and during that time I still didn't want to officially announce the location because we were still in the talks with the government officials. But I can tell you today that now it's official. So we are establishing our operations currently in the province of Sakeo, which is a province approximately 2.5 hours away from Bangkok. And the arrangement and the agreement that we have over there is to take over several of these similar waste management facilities. Now, in other words, Sakeo has 9 districts, and each one of those districts has its own waste management facility, similar to what you can see here in this photo. Now, we are going to start our operations from the district called Wang Nam Yen. And that is the first location where our operations will begin. Now, we are now taking over this entire facility. It's a total of 7 hectares in size. And as you can see from here, it has a landfill, and then it has additional warehousing and operational facilities where waste is being managed at the moment. Now, I wanted to give you a quick walkthrough of how does this facility work and what is our plan over here. So you can see the road on the left upper side of the picture. That road connects to the main road, which runs through the province, I would say maybe less than 2 kilometers away. And when you enter into this facility, you enter through a gate, which is obviously showing you that this is a government facility. And right there on your right-hand side, which is basically there on the left down corner of the facility, you see an empty plot of land. And in that plot, we are going to now build our, what we call the learning center, which will have a few different functions to it. It will have our office space, it will have meeting rooms, a classroom, and then most importantly, our showroom with displays and functions that we can educate people about how oil is created, how oil is converted into plastic products. We can educate people about this massive global plastic waste issue, and then most importantly, how and what is our solution for that problem. So this will be a very important facility that we are going to build in this area. Now, we are working very closely with the government. We are working very closely with the municipality here, and they are very excited about this learning center that we're going to be doing. And their target is that they want to bring in the local students from the local schools to come there to learn about this issue and obviously about our solution. So this will be a very, very great and very important element and part of our work that we're doing here, which is the educational part. As a part of the facility, we're also going to have a coffee shop and a small restaurant. So whenever you guys come over to the facility, once you have seen what we do, and you have had your grand tour around the area, then we can have a nice lunch at the end of the day. Now, this facility, as of right now, receives on a daily basis about 17,000 kilos of local garbage. And out of that 17,000 kilos, an average estimated amount of about 30% would be plastic waste. And when we receive a garbage truck full of garbage, it is brought into the facility and it goes into a waste separation process. What we do during that process at the largest, you can see there's a few different warehouses. The largest one, which is there on the right side of the of this group of warehouses. That is what we call the warehouse number 1. And inside of that facility, we have a full waste separation machine where we can separate these wastes into different streams, such as, for example, glass, bio-waste, metal, paper, and then what is most important for us, the plastic waste. And I actually just yesterday, as I was there at the facility, I filmed about 15-minute video where I will walk through all of these different areas and facilities. And we're going to be able to share that video for you today. So what I'm telling you right now, you will be able to see many of these functions at the video filmed at the location as well. But basically, in a very simple way, when the garbage trucks come in, they dump all of their garbage into the warehouse number 1, where we separate that garbage into different streams of waste. Then we can recycle, for example, the glass, we can recycle the metal, we turn the bio-waste into fertilizer, which we can then recycle and sell as well. And most importantly, we then receive the plastic waste. This plastic waste, we then compress into very tight sort of bricks, which weigh about 50 to 75 kilos. And then those bricks we can then inject into our plastic waste to fuel pyrolysis processing machines. And that's the end of the process for the waste. Now, all of this separation and preparation part happens at these warehouses here. Then on the right side, you can see the very light brown area. That is the actual landfill. And as of right now, today, there is a total amount of approximately 30 million kilos of waste plastic on that landfill. 30 million kilos. And that is increasing every day when new plastic is being delivered to the site. So the great thing about this landfill is that the nature has already done a big part of the separation process for us. So once the plastic and the garbage has been dumped into the landfill, the bio waste has already been biodegraded. And then anything with any kind of value, any glass or metal, has already been picked out by the local people. So there is hardly anything with any value on this landfill. Most of the garbage that is there is plastic waste. And what we are doing is we're picking up the plastic waste from this landfill and then putting it again through the separation process to get rid of any kind of impurities and sand and other things of that sort, to have as clean as possible plastic raw material to be then injected into the machines. Now, then you see below the light brown landfill area, you see another brown field. And that field, that location is about 5,500 square meters in size. And that is the area where we are now establishing the production units. So we will start from the most upper corner of that facility. And we are going to start there initially with 2 machines, which is part of our pilot phase of this project. And those machines will be placed side by side right next to the landfill, easily accessible from those inside little roads that are there in the facility. This location, we are at the moment still finalizing on the calculations, but most probably we are going to have up to 4 machines on this specific facility. And each one of these machines is able to process approximately 120,000 kilos of waste plastic per day, per month, and then to convert that into approximately 60,000 liters of fuel per month. We have, as I mentioned before, close by at the other districts of the Socium province, we have 8 more similar facilities like this. And our conversation with the government officials as of right now includes a continuous expansion plan where we would be taking over several of these facilities. So our business plan is to have a minimum of 10 machines here in this location, which could potentially be split over between a couple of facilities. So here in the Wang Nam Yen district, we'll have potentially four machines, and then at the district right next to it, which would be just about 30 minutes drive away, we would have then more machines on the next facility. The reason to split these machines into a few different locations is simply for the reason that we don't have to use the garbage from one location, and we don't have to bring garbage from other locations. Instead, we can bring in the solution where the problem is. And in that way, we can utilize these different landfills, which are very close to each other, all inside the Sakeo, all part of the one project strategy. Now, as we have mentioned before, whenever we establish operations in a said location, our target is to be able to process on a monthly basis a minimum amount of 1.2 million kilos of waste plastic per month. And from that 1.2 million kilos, create a minimum of 600,000 liters of fuel. And this production we are able to achieve by having 10 of our machines placed in the set location. And this is what we are now doing here in Sakeo. Now, I'm extremely happy to also tell you that we are going to be breaking ground, which means that we are starting our construction process now during this coming week. We are a little bit delayed on our initial target, which was on the 22nd of May, which I initially announced at the first global event. As of right now, we are looking to be operational, well, I would say easily within the month of June. So during next month, we will be having the first oil batch produced on this site, but we're pushing it as quickly as we can at this moment. Most importantly, the first machine that will be used here is already here in Thailand. It is in another warehouse about 2 hours drive away. And as soon as we are done with the concrete founding laying work, we are going to be able to start bringing in the machinery to this location. Together with the groundwork that we're doing for the concrete base, we're also building a new structural frame around the machines, which will be basically a warehouse structure. And then we will have a proper facility to operate the last part of the waste processing in this facility. Now, to talk about a little bit more about the timelines, as I mentioned before, we're going to have the first machine brought in there now in the next couple of weeks, as soon as the foundation has been completed. We are hoping to be able to start installing the machine here during the first week of June. And then within about 2 weeks' time, the first machine could be up and running, giving us the first drops of oil during June. Now, this first machine will be having another machine joining it over the next, I would say, about 60 days. And our intention is that here in Sakeo, we will have the total of 10 machines all up and running by the end of next year. So that is our target, and we believe it's very reasonable and very realistic target to move forward. Now, as I mentioned before, after this call, we're going to share with you a video which is gonna show you a little bit more detail, walking through this facility, and you can see how it really looks like inside the hangars and the warehouses and the things that are there. But this is good that you can see it from the air first, and then that will give you a good perspective on the overalls of this project. Now, moving on to other locations, we actually have here on the call with us today a very important person, Mr. Andre Tops, whom I would like to introduce as well. Roger, if you would be kind and maybe unmute Andre so he could say a few words. Some of you may know Andre already, but myself and Andre, we have been working together very closely over the last few months. We've known each other for well over a year, and Andre is now officially the COO, the Chief Operations Officer of Socium Development in Europe. And Andre and his team are now hands-on in charge of our operations and business development regarding our European operations. And aside from that, Andre is also then helping us and supporting us for our operations here in Asia. But Andre, if you're there, maybe you could say a few words and just say hi for everyone.
Yes, hello everybody. Thank you, Jay. It's I've been involved with the company from basically the start. So I've been through all the challenges that we had. And as you said in the beginning, since January, we started collaborating together. It's been an exciting trip so far, and I'm very much looking forward for the things that lie ahead of us, especially this period where we are actually now opening the first facility and many more to come. So looking forward to meet all you guys. Some of them I know, some of them I don't, but for sure I will meet many of you. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much, Andre. Now, something that we wanted to also tell you today is that we are officially now launching our investment program, which means that private equity investors are now able to join these projects, more specifically the projects in Thailand, the project in Slovenia, in Belgium, in Ireland, and in Colombia. We are also in the process of bringing in a few new project partners. I believe that Netherlands is most probably going to be the next one that we're going to be officially launching and announcing. But we also have several other projects and locations on the pipeline where we want to expand our operations. Still within this year, our target is to have the first operations up and running in Europe, as well as in the Latin America and in the Middle East, and then here in Thailand. These are very important strategic locations for us, and we're all working forward to have the operations officially launched and have oil being produced in all of these different territories. And as I mentioned before, Andre and his team, who are based in Europe, are working very hard on this, and they have done an excellent job over the last few months on securing not only new project partners for us in these countries, but also working very closely on securing for us offtake partners, in other words, oil companies and buyers of fuel with whom we are going to be working in the future once we have the fuel that we're going to be selling. Now, obviously, for all of you token holders and all of you members and leaders and followers of the Ecovo network, it's very important to know that all of these operations that we're talking here today will have a direct effect on the value of the token. And this value will be obviously created through demand, which is created by the sales of the oil that these production facilities all over the world are creating. So the more machines we have up and running, the more locations we have up and running, and more fuel that we can sell every month will all have a positive impact on the value of the tokens that you hold. So we are in a very, very exciting moment of our business at the moment, seeing now the first project materializing here in Thailand, and soon being able to start to offer the fuel for our international offtake partners buying the fuel. So this is all very, very interesting. Now, what I wanted to say also before was that we have some very interesting projects which are moving, and we are now launching the investment opportunity for international investors to take part in these different project locations. How this all relates to you is that if you have any investors that you might know about who potentially are interested on taking part to become a direct shareholder in one of these projects, such as, for example, the project company here in Thailand, or in Slovenia, Belgium, Netherlands, Ireland, or in Colombia, we would like to ask you to refer to our info email address, which would be info@sociumdevelopment.com. And we are launching now a compensation and a referral program where any investors or potentially any project partners that would be introduced by you and would lead to materializing as a new partner or as an investor to one of these projects would then be providing you a direct commission as well. Now, the way that we're going to start this conversation off, and I would like to propose that we do a separate call for everyone who is interested on working in this field, where we can go through in more detail about the specifics of the introducer position, what kind of responsibilities are coming together with it, and also what kind of benefits or compensation can be provided for you. I would like to schedule another call and then go through the specifics of this. And in this call, we will also show you what kind of presentation we are showing for these investors and potential project partners. But in other words, just to summarize what I just said, so if you have an investor who would like to potentially be taking part on one of these direct operational project companies in the areas where we are operating, with a minimum capital investment of 50,000 euros, please get in touch with us by and through the info@sociumdevelopment.com website, the email address, and we will then assign you for a coordinator of your language and your territory. So we already have a group of skillful, trained, selected coordinators who are going to be there helping you and helping your potential investors to take part in these direct operational companies. Yeah, the minimum investment that we are looking from direct investments from private equity investors is 50,000 euros, 50. Now, I want to make something very clear here as well, that you as a potential introducer or a member of Cloud Horizon and the network, at any given moment should not be involved in giving investment advice, giving any kind of investment information to anyone, none whatsoever. That is not what we are asking you to do. We are simply providing you an opportunity to open up the conversation with a potential investor who, let's say, is interested, obviously, to be part of the network and to own the tokens, but potentially also interested of becoming a shareholder in one of these operational companies. And this is simply something to be considered as an additional opportunity. This is not what we're asking you to do. I want to be very specific and highlight this part. Please focus on doing what you're doing at the moment with the network and building that side of the business. You're doing an amazing job, and the results from the last week are a direct result of that. So We are all very proud of your work and very appreciative of your work, and please continue to do that. But sometimes there might be an investor that you come across who is interested of being and taking part directly in these operational companies, and this is an opportunity for them. So once again, if you have anyone that you would like to bring in touch with us in this field, please get in touch with us through the email address info@sociumdevelopment.com. Now, also, if you do happen to know a company or a person who is an owner or an operator of a waste management facility or a landfill or a company or operations that you feel that should somehow collaborate and could potentially be in a partnership on the business that we are building together with Socium Development. We are also offering a finder's fee for any successful introduction that leads to a business partnership. So in a similar way, when you're doing your work and you're meeting a lot of different people, when you meet someone who is, for example, an operator or an owner of a functional active waste management facility or a company, for those occasions, for those cases, situations, we are now activating a finder's fee for you to introduce them to us. And then if partnerships are created and business is being developed, you will be able to receive a compensation from that as well. All right. So what I will do is I will coordinate a time together with Peter Shaw, and we could then put together a call where we can look through the details of this opportunity in a little bit more specific way. But this is the additional opportunity that we wanted to bring to your attention today. And obviously, the more faster we can build these facilities, the more resources that we have available to use to install new machines and generate fuel faster and more, it will all have a direct effect on the value of the token. So this is very important for you to understand, and this is a teamwork. And as you know, our strategy at Socium Development is built around creating strong and fruitful partnerships. And obviously, the partnership and the collaboration that Socium Development has together with Cloud Horizon and you as the member of the network is the most important of these partnerships. But we welcome private equity investors and other collaboration and operational partners to also join our mission and our cause of removing the plastic waste from the environment and turning it into the liquid gold, which is the advanced biofuel. Great. Now, Roger and Peter, have you received any questions that you would like me to address?
Yeah, there's been a little bit of chat going on, Jay, very exciting. Just a few, comments. First of all, well, thank you for sharing that information, with us. And that's amazing that, the people have the opportunity now also to have an extra potential source of income. But what I also would, like to stress is that it's absolutely not anybody's job in the network to go out, to try to sell some investment. I mean, that's just not what this is about. This is about,
exactly.
You may know someone who is a potential, investor who would be interested in looking at this amazing project. And then it's just a question of sending in a ticket, correct? Send in a ticket. And do we get a ticket number? I don't know if you've got such an advanced system as our sister network. But anyway, send in an email, and then it'll be taken over by the professional group that you've set up around you that will deal with this in a professional, structured way and begin the dialogue.
Correct.
It's absolutely not anybody's role in the network to have that dialogue. It's just a question of handing over. Okay, just to be clear on that. And I'm very happy to see Andre, who seems to have gone to sleep in his chair there. I know he needs his afternoon nap from time to time, but Andre, it's great to have you on board with this. And now Andre's a wonderful guy who works incredibly hard. That's why he needs his little power nap from time to time there. He does a great job helping everybody. He's very, very supportive. And fantastic that you're assembling such a great team of skilled people around you. And this also is a token and also a sign for us in the network that you guys are pretty busy behind the scenes, putting in a business infrastructure to do what's necessary in the markets that we're expanding into to take care of the development of the projects accordingly, which is a great job. I just want to go back a little bit now to the I call it the Genesis project in Thailand. You know, our Genesis project in Thailand. And maybe it's also, you know, good to outline to the people, because sometimes, you know, people, and many people are in business in this call, and they understand, you know, that sometimes it's a long, you know, route. A lot of things have to be done to, you know, realize, you know, the goal as to where you want to get to build a business, to create a business. But from what you've been doing in the last, you know, few weeks and, you know, even months in Thailand, to realize this Genesis project in Sakeo, just even to have that being established there. You know, it's not that you just roll up with the trucks here, we've got a machine, where can we put it? It's about being able to locate that facility, locate the correct facility where we can establish the project, but then to be able to move into that facility, there's a lot of bureaucracy, there's a lot of going through local governments, there's a lot of processes that you have to do that are not in your control, that are things that are outside of your control with timelines and stuff like this. But you've been doing an amazing job. But just maybe explain to the people, Jay, if you wouldn't mind, so they get a better understanding of your world, in how you have to work and what you have to deal with on a daily basis, so that they understand also that you know, what you're doing from your perspective, that they would have the empathy, you know, with you, and understand that, okay, that we say the 22nd of June, it may just, or sorry, 22nd of May, it may be the 23rd and 24th because of what you have to deal with. And certainly in the current situation in the world where everything seems to have slowed down and the wheels don't turn as quickly because people have other priorities and stuff like this. But maybe you could just, you know, touch on that so people just get an idea as to what, you know, you've been doing, because you've been talking a lot about the results, but actually what you've been doing would be maybe interesting to hear about.
Yeah, thank you very much, Peter. I mean, obviously, not to blow my own horn, if that's the correct way to put it, but I would say that it has been an absolutely a pleasure to work with such a great team that we are currently assembling, both in Europe as well as here in Thailand. And without this team that we have now around us working at the moment, we would have never been able to reach the level of the business where we are at this very moment. And I know that as you said, looking things from far away, sometimes it can even feel that things are taking a little bit time to come together. But we have to remember that we are currently establishing our operations on probably one of the most challenging at times in our lives, considering all the traveling restrictions and limitations on doing business, and personal limitations for people to even being coming together and having meetings and assembling themselves into an office. So what we have been able to achieve during this time in the last couple of months of putting things together is quite remarkable. But all of this is just talk, all of this is just nice words until there is actual production happening. And that's what we are targeting. We are working around the clock to getting things as quickly as possible to the state where we can show you actual oil sales and oil production coming from the site. But what I'm very, very happy about is that we've reached a great collaboration with the government here in Thailand. We are fully supported by the local government authorities. We already have the first machine ready to be installed. It's currently being stored in a warehouse, just waiting for us to get the groundwork done. And because of the coronavirus situation, some of these talks that we had to go through in terms of securing the proper licensing for this facility took a couple of weeks longer than we initially expected. And this was simply for the reason that the government officials have been so tied up with their work because of the virus. And because of that one, some of these licensing projects and processes have taken a bit longer time. But with just a few days ago, we got a green light that we can now move in. And yesterday I was there on the site together with our technical team, and we did the final measurements. And I took the video for you guys to walk through the facility, which we will share in a minute. And we are now next week ready to start laying down the concrete base and then moving the machine in. So once it's there, we get things up and running. We are ready to start making oil, and that's the moment we're all pushing very hard for. And it's also something that I keep on reminding our team is that once we get the first machine up and running and the first project is productive, that's the start. That's when the fun part starts. And then we start moving in and building more. And as quickly as possible, we want to have 9 more of these machines up and running at Sakkeo, and then having the first projects up and running in Europe. Slovenia is right now in a situation where they have already, our partners over there have already secured the indoor facility for it. So the facility, the warehouse in Slovenia is waiting for the machine. We are currently in the process of applying for the needed licensing, and now together with our project investors, as well as with Cloud Horizon, we are organizing the project funding for that project as well, and moving it forward. So that's a little summary from that part.
Thank you, Jay. Just, now referring to some of the chat going on here, let's just, define a project. In my understanding, we're now talking about this first project in Thailand, the one that's been established that you've been preparing, that we're going to be moving into very, very shortly, the Genesis project in my terminology, the first one. That, when we talk about machines and 10 machines in this, but a project is more about the capacity to produce approximately 500 to 600,000 liters of fuel per month. That's our target with a project.
Correct.
And in that project, obviously one machine isn't going to produce that amount of fuel on a monthly basis. So we need maybe 10 machines, whatever, number, let's say it's 10 machines. Now, just looking at the chat here, planning to have 10 machines operational by 2021. But obviously, now that we bring in the private investment to fund the expansion to that capacity through funding the machines that need to be purchased, how long is a piece of string? You can't say that all that money from the private investors is going to come in by next week, next month, or whenever. But when the funding is packaged together to purchase those machines that will be able to produce that capacity of 500 to 600,000 liters per month, then that project is completed. That's signed off. That's a completed project. Is that my understanding correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So then there's obviously talks and processes going on now in other countries that you've referred to, for example, Slovenia and Belgium, that are, I believe, quite far down the line, just from getting some feedback. And those will also be in a similar type of package where it'll be 500 to 600,000 liters from a project per month coming out of that. Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
It would seem to me, Jay, just looking at this from my way of looking at the world, that that location in Sakkeo, when you have one project established there, just looking at the the satellite pictures, you could establish several projects there. There must be more potential for expansion on that site. Is that something you see also happening?
Yeah, as I mentioned before, this specific site is one of the 9 districts in that province. So what we're planning to do is we're planning to, as the part of the Sakkeo project, to have, I believe, 4 machines in this specific facility, and then have another 2 or 4 on the next district. And that's our target, to reach the total of 10 machines in Sakkeo, which are all part of the project. But potentially, as I mentioned, they can be split into a few different facilities, just so that we don't have to be transporting the waste from one district to another because we don't have a machine over there. The most inefficient thing that we can do is to carry garbage from one place to another. It's much more efficient to bring the machine where the garbage is already and use it there. So that's why we are considering on splitting the total amount of 10 machines between a few facilities that are already there. But all of these will be part of the so-called Sakkeo project.
Okay, that's wonderful, Jay. Good to hear that. Like also, now with this expansion, this is of course what we need as fuel, excuse the pun, for the network. To give the confidence to the field and everything else. So this is fantastic, and also what you're doing. I know another sort of project, maybe not the number one thing on the list of priorities right now, but also to build like an education center there where people can come and visit and get also educated about how the projects are set up, and also a link with the community as well. I think this is also a very important thing, that we're also giving back something to the local communities, and I think this has been very well received in Thailand, about this education aspect of what we're doing. Also, maybe you'd just like to just share a little bit of that, as future, vision, and the way that we think about, giving back and educating as well to the communities, and how this has been supported also by the local municipalities and governments as well, how much that they like this sort of thing.
Well, as I mentioned in the beginning of the call, so this learning center that is being built at the facility will be a place where they want to bring in their students from the local schools, and obviously the adults as well. So this will be something where we can educate people about the whole process. Where is oil coming? How are the plastic products being manufactured? What happens for the plastic once it's being consumed? And what is the problem and the crisis of the plastic waste around the world at the moment? And then most importantly, what is our solution for it? And what are we doing there specifically to help in this situation? So this is basically what will be presented at that learning center, together with then obviously our showroom and place where we can display for you and your teams and friends whenever you come over to Thailand to see this specific facility.
Excellent. No, I think that's a fantastic initiative, and also very important to have that connection with the local community, and also the local government that you're being and are being continually supported by them, and it's great PR for them as well. But I also think there's a huge potential there for related companies in this sector to align with us and support and sponsor projects in some way as well. Maybe, and I'm just thinking out of the box here, as I just shoot from the hip. It'd be fantastic to have like a football field set up over there that the kids could be kitted out in Socium development, running around and kicking football and stuff like this. There's a huge potential there for a lot of community work, but also I think we could bring in local businesses and stuff like that, and really engage the community as something that people could feel proud of and take ownership of. And I think this is also what we're about as well, as a company, doing stuff, obviously this project, environmental solution for the world, for the plastic waste, but also, giving back to the communities where we establish these projects and stuff like this. I think this could be a wonderful thing. So I've got some other ideas, and I'm not going to start now on that because the juices start flowing. But also, Jay, just to go back a little bit again to the projects and to the real meat on the bones, the real substance here, the technology that you're using to solve the problem of taking plastic waste and converting it into fuel. You're not strictly aligned to one company or one supplier or whatever. You're just basically sourcing the best technology for the project accordingly. So maybe you could just elaborate a little bit about the philosophy on that, not necessarily you're taking it from this company or that company, but just the mindset of that idea, just to solve the problem by looking at what's needed and then just take the best technology available on the market or at that moment that's available. Because right now, with the situation in the world, you may not have been able to source the best technology that you wanted, but the best that was available. So there's also practical implications. So maybe just give a little bit of info on that, Jay. I always love it when you tell about these things, because you tell it in such a great way.
Thank you. Well, basically, you said it very, very well and very straightforward. So we as a company, Socium Development, we are not exclusively married or partnered with any specific machinery manufacturer. Instead, what we do is we work together with some of the best manufacturers around the world. And depending on wherever we are going to set up a project, if we are working in Slovenia, or if we are working in somewhere in Africa, or we are working in South America, or working here in Thailand, we wish to work with local and regional machinery manufacturers. And we are in a very fortunate situation where over the last year, there has actually come out to the market a few very good manufacturers, and with some very good solid technologies which are already proven and tested. And our mission and our target is not to be in the machinery manufacturing business. We are in the business of converting waste plastic into fuel. And in order to do that, we wish to work with the best manufacturers of technologies in those specific regions where we are building our projects. In a similar way, McDonald's, just as an example, are not themselves creating the raw materials. They are not in the bakery business of baking the buns and the bread that you buy your hamburger in. Instead, they use local suppliers for those, and they choose their best suppliers and best producers for those products. So in a similar way, our business is to find the best locations, where we are also now asking you to help us and to join us in this project of finding these best locations around the world. So we wish to work with landfill operators, with waste management company operators who already have the infrastructure in place. So in order for us to be able to move quickly and use our resources the most efficient way, we're looking for partners who already have the facility, who already have maybe the warehouse, who already have all of those infrastructural elements available, where we can move in and bring in our know-how and our technologies, which we then acquire from our technology partners. And in the same way, as we discussed before, we can bring in our financial partners to take part in these projects. So it really is our role to be in the center of creating strong and efficient, meaningful partnerships, where we bring in locations, the financial partnerships, the technical partnerships, and most importantly, our know-how on business development, on building these projects. And eventually, once we have the oil in the tank, then we work in a partnership with our offtake partners to sell the fuel to. So partnerships is the word, and that's the key in our whole strategy on how we're moving forward.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting. Actually, brings me on to maybe our closing question and our closing sort of topic: partnerships, win-win. Absolutely, you know, the way to think, because with a synergistic operation, then you know you can create an awful lot more. You don't have to establish something that's already set up by working with a partnership, obviously. But just bringing me now to the, I suppose, full circle when we talk about the projects, the infrastructure that's been set up, the oil that's now being produced, and you talked about that when we have the oil in the tank, then working with our offtake partners. Now, I know this is a topic that you're very passionate about, and you've spoken on a couple of calls before about the current market, you know, for the fuel, for the oil. But I'd just like to say here, before I go on to that, or you start talking about that, is that, you know, I know that many people have, you know, seen you live and listened to you talk on many occasions, Jay. But I would say from my interactions with you over, you know, the course of, you know, the years, is that you have become probably a world expert, a leading expert in the world. And, you know, I'm just telling it like it is on this whole process of pyrolysis, what's out there, the market and everything else. I mean, I can't imagine, you know, if the company had gone out headhunting, you know, for, you know, someone to do the job that you're doing, that they could have found a, you know, a better person. You know, I know you're going to pay me a couple of €1,000 later for this endorsement. No, but seriously, you know, you have educated yourself on the market and what's out there. And it, you know, it really is remarkable, you know, to hear your insights. So, and you take the time to share and educate our community on this, because education is key. This is what, you know, I always say that we do in the network. We're educating our people, and you play an amazing role in that. And we thank you for taking the time to do that again today. But I think the knowledge that you've gained, and I've also seen you grow over, you know, the year as well, the years, and your knowledge today is really cutting edge. But just to maybe share a little bit of insights with the people, that on the current market, I know we're in a very unusual situation, as you alluded to, with this whole, you know, thing going on. But the world market now for oil is low, is depressed. But you see there for us a huge advantage. Maybe you could just very quickly explain that and just wrap that off here, you know, for the people, that they know that they're really in the right place at the right time.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you very much for those words. And if any one of you is ever looking to have a resume of any kind, I highly advise you to contact Mr. Peter Shaw.
Yeah.
He'll make you an amazing resume. So
yeah,
thank
well,
you very much, Peter.
I'll also tell it like it is. If I think you're an idiot, I'll tell you you're an effing idiot, you know, as well. So, you know, we just tell it like it is, Jay. As simple as that.
Exactly. Well, thank you very much. But I believe that as a team, we have all learned a lot over the last couple of years, and the amount of information that we have been able to put together and to filter out from that continuous flow of news and information, the key elements which are important for us. That's obviously the most important role, I would say, that I play in the team while we are creating the strategy and making the decisions on which way we want to drive our business. So in order to do that, we need to go through a lot of information and then be able to pick out the key elements from that. And a lot of people have been confused, even I might use the word scared of the current oil market situation. But I want to highlight for you all that instead of having a challenge, we actually have on our hands a massive opportunity. And this opportunity I want to highlight for you is once in a lifetime opportunity. And I don't use that word lightly. It is something that none of us have ever been involved with. And what's interesting about it and what makes this such a great opportunity is that the oil market is going through right now a recovery process like never before. We have seen the global demand of oil drop by some estimations about 30%, from a daily consumption, daily demand of about 100 million barrels per day down to about 70 million barrels. And while that has happened, the big oil producing countries have continued to produce oil. Some of those countries actually even increase their production during this period of time. And now when the oil reserves around the world are full and there's very, very limited amount of oil storage left, now these oil companies and oil producers are cutting their production. And they are forced to cut production at the same time as countries and economies are starting to open. So it's a very, very interesting moment. And last time when we saw the international oil price being this low was at 1991. That was the last time when oil was trading at approximately $20 per barrel. In about 5 years' time, the oil price had increased to approximately $120 per barrel. And the reason for this was that production was temporarily cut down, and then demand started to increase again. And as you know, in the most purest form of market economy, the supply and the demand is what determines the price. Unfortunately, that's not always the case in all parts of the economy, but with oil and other commodities, it is still the case. And that's a very, very interesting moment for us to be in. Now, we are actually in a very fortunate situation because we are the ones who are now entering the oil market. We are not in a situation where we are struggling to stay in the oil market. We are still a very, very small player. And all of our calculations, all of our estimations for our business have always been placed and done for approximate sales price between 30 and 50 euro cents per liter. Now, if we look back just a couple of months, the market price for our oil was actually close to 65 cents per liter. So at the worst situation ever in the oil market, the type of oil that we are producing, which is called very low sulfur fuel oil, is actually as of today trading at about 30 euro cents per liter. So even at the worst of the times, our type of high quality, premium, low sulfur fuel is trading at about 30 euro cents per liter. And as some would say that when looking at the oil price, there's only one way that the market can go from here, and that is up. So what is happening at the moment, a little bit to recap and summarize what I just said earlier, the oil production is now being reduced globally. And at the same time, economies are opening, countries are opening, borders are opening, more people are getting back to work. And this means that there is more and more and more need for fuel. And while this is happening, the demand is coming back online. And my estimation, personally, and I'm willing to go on record on this one, is that we are going to see within the time period of, let's say, at least 24 months. So within this year and next year, we're going to see a historic low, which has already happened. For the first time ever, the oil futures market pushed the oil price to a negative and we're going to see a historic high. And I'm basing my estimation on the statements from advisors, for example, companies like Goldman Sachs, etc., much more smarter people who do this for a living. And this is something that we're foreseeing. So even today, with the lowest historical oil price, our business is already doing well. And when the oil price starts to increase from here, even to halfway where we were just a few months ago, we're doing great. If we see what is very likely to happen, that the oil prices will, because of the lower demand and the lower production and the higher demand, start to shoot up higher, we are going towards a huge bonus for all of us, which is going to come from these increased prices. And what is so convenient and so fortunate for us is that by the time when we start to have more machines coming online, when we start to have 5 machines, 10 machines, 15, 20, 30, 50 machines online, the oil market has already moved a lot from where we are today. Our production from one machine being about 60,000 liters a month, in the big picture, is very, very, very small production. But by the time that we have more machines up and running and several projects up and running, if we are very, very fortunate and we are very, very, let's say, lucky, I would even use that word, we are just at that moment witnessing potentially the highest oil prices that we've ever seen in history. And that's what we are really, really targeting for. So if things stay as they are, we're going to do well. If things go to where they were, we're going to do great. And if things go higher than that in terms of the oil market price, we're going to do amazing. So I would say that's the most important thing for you guys to know about that subject.
But I think it's also very important to identify that, okay, we have the general oil market where in general production capacity has gone down from the countries like Saudi Arabia and North Sea and these places and Mexico. But as you said in your talk there a moment ago, that the oil that we're producing is a very low sulfur fuel oil. This is a very specific category or type of oil, a niche market, so to speak, that we have for this fuel oil. And I think that this is also important maybe to share with the people a little bit, that we're producing, we're not like, the Saudi Arabia where we're taking crude oil out of the ground, or the North Sea where we're taking the oil out of the sea, that's the type of oil that we're producing is like a crude oil. No, it's a very specific category within the oil market, this very low sulfur. Why is that important, Jay? And why is there always going to be a market for this, and how is that market, developing? And just, you said the price for our type of oil is still, very stable. It's a good price. Just elaborate to give people confidence as well, because they'll hear stuff, oh, the oil prices are crashing, and you've explained it very well. But for them to know and identify, yes, but we have a very specific type of oil that is a very specific niche.
Correct.
And we can't even supply a fraction of the demand that's needed in that niche right now. So,
correct. So something that is very important and which is actually has started from the beginning of January this year to become a very, very important topic is the sulfur content in the fuels. And over the last decades, the shipping industry around the world has been allowed to use something called the bunker fuel, which generally is the most cheapest, most dirtiest type of oil that you get during the oil refinery production. So whenever you take the crude oil from the ground and you start processing that into commercial products like kerosene and gasoline and diesel, you have a a layer of the most dirtiest, most uncleanest fuel, and that is called the bunker fuel. And the shipping industry, the marine industry, has been using this as their primary fuel for the cargo boats and the tankers on our oceans. Now, since the 1st of January this year, a new regulation set by something called the International Maritime Organization, IMO, and the United Nations now regulates the marine industry and the type of fuel that they are using. More specifically, what they did is they created a new regulation where the maximum amount of sulfur which is allowed to be used in these boats had to be reduced from 0.5% down to from 3.5% down to 0.5%. So from 3.5 to 0.5. And as you can imagine, this was a huge drop and huge change for a massive global industry. Now, what makes our fuel so interesting is that we are making our oil from plastic products, which are already a refined result of the fuel. So for the ones of you who are maybe joining in right now who were not aware, but all the plastic products are made from the crude oil. So oil is taken out from the ground, it's put into the processing, and about 4% of that crude oil typically gets converted or can be converted into plastic products. And when that process is done, and plastic products are being manufactured, which can be used for you to pack your groceries and pack your food and your drink and so on, all of these harmful, very poisonous chemicals like sulfur has already been removed as the plastic production process. Now, what we do is we take that end product, we take that plastic product, and we simply convert it back into the liquid form, which means that the sulfur has already been removed on that plastic product. And in our case, when we then take the plastic product, the plastic bag, for example, we convert it back into oil and we measure the sulfur content in that oil, we are seeing sulfur content amounts as low as 0.01% or somewhere around 0.1. So they are marginal and very, very fractional compared to the new limitations set by the United Nations and the International Maritime Organization. So these are some of the elements which give us even more higher fuel price on the market, because our oil straight from the machine without any further refining or treatment is already considered as a very low sulfur fuel oil. And that gives us a totally different price on the market than, for example, the traditional crude oil, which would be pumped out somewhere in Texas or Saudi Arabia, or even in the North Sea, where you would get the most prestigious crude oil, the Brent light sweet crude. So this is a very important. Now, as of right now, there is a increasing and huge demand for this very low sulfur fuel oil, and that's why, for example, our focus now and in the future is to primarily be supplying our fuel to the maritime industry, as well as then to these local provincial governmental bodies who are working together with us. So, for example, in Sakeo, as well as here in Bangkok, we are currently in talks of starting to supply our fuel straight directly to the government to be used in, for example, the garbage trucks and other heavy diesel vehicles that are mostly polluting the atmosphere at the moment. So these would be the two parts. So it's the governmental areas and then the marine industry that we really want to be supplying with our fuel. And the fact that we have so low sulfur content in our fuel already as it comes out from the machine gives us that extra value that we are really looking for.
Yeah, that's a great point. You know, the sulfur, just, you know, to add to, you know, the discussion, the sulfur content being pumped out by, you know, these huge boats that are sailing around the world, sulfur getting into the atmosphere and then coming as rain in the forests. We've seen the devastation caused by the acid rain, and that's coming from the sulfuric acid that's been, you know, coming from the sulfur being produced by the fuel. So this is a great thing that the fuel that we're producing is a very eco-friendly fuel. It's a very environmentally friendly fuel, you know, that we can offer to the market, you know, as well. So this is a great thing. No, just that I have you on the line, Jay, I do, you know, take a few liberties, and I'm sure the people won't mind, you know, us going on a little bit longer than what we scheduled, because once we get into a discussion with you, it's always great because you share some incredible information. We had a call a few weeks ago where someone brought up a very interesting point, I thought, and they were talking about electricity, electric cars. We're not going to need fuel in the future, you know, for powering the economy, and you know, the trucks, everything's going to be electric. And you know, even if we did go 100% electric, which may not necessarily, when you get into that whole discussion, which would be, you know, taking us several hours, may not be an environmentally friendly technology, but not having that discussion about, you know, electric being, you know, as eco-friendly as what is maybe proposed, but just purely on a practical side of oil production. You were talking about that there will still be a need for fuel. There will still be a need for oil because of the kerosene being needed to be separated from the process of the oil to fuel the jets and stuff. So maybe you just, you know, give us a little heads up on that we're not in a niche or an area that's going to stop after, you know, 5 years or even 10 years, because I love to know your thoughts on this, because I see that we have a hugely long-term sustainable business here. That's what I want, you know, to make sure that people understand that our business model is a long-term sustainable business model. So maybe you could just give us a little bit of your insights on that, please.
Sure. Well, you, as you mentioned already very well there, the electric as a raw materials, a resource for the traffic is definitely something that is going to be with us all the way for long in the future. But the battery-based electric vehicles is not the solution for the future. So I repeat myself on this one. Electric engines are definitely going to be with us, and it's a great solution in many ways. But to replace the traffic energy created by combustion engines, to replace that one with battery-based electric engines is not the solution. The problem with the electric today is that, first of all, how is the electric being created? I would like you to actually watch a documentary, if I can recommend something here. You can find it from YouTube. It's a very recent documentary called Planet of the Humans. And so Planet of the Humans, and very, very interesting documentary, which addresses a lot of the problems with the electric movement, so to say. And I don't want to say that everything that you see in the documentary is absolutely 100% true. Do your own fact checkings and see as well. But it raises some very, very important and interesting points. And I highly recommend that for you. And as I always do, I always try to look at things from all different angles and try to collect the opinions and the statistics from different angles. But that's definitely something for you to look at. Now, if we look at what's happening on the electric car industry specifically, the biggest problem is that in order for these cars to run, they need batteries. And the batteries are mainly built by using cobalt and lithium. And for example, the country of Congo, which is the largest producer of cobalt in the world right now, was just placed into a blacklist from BMW because of the ways that they are collecting and the way that they are currently mining these resources from there. I mean, just to tell you, as you, Peter, said, like, say it like it is, what has been happening in Congo and in many other of these countries, they've basically been hacking down the rainforests, and they are putting children to work in these mines. And I mean, that's pretty horrible. And now companies like BMW are taking the stand against these behaviors, and they are simply now putting these countries on blacklist. They are no longer accepting to use these raw materials. At the same time, we have the problem of how is this electricity generated in the first place. Well, if you do your calculations, you do your research, just take a look how much the electricity that we're using today is created from solar, how much is created from wind, and how much is created, for example, by burning anything, burning coal or burning biomass and other raw materials. Is that really the way that we want to be creating the electricity that you use in your ecological electric car? I don't know. Do your research on it. But what I'm telling you is my personal opinion. We are going to need more efficient, more environmentally friendlier combustion fuels. And instead of trying to replace them with, for example, with batteries, we should put more resource on creating more environmentally friendly combustion fuels and make the combustion engines more environmentally friendly. And that's really the focus where we should be targeting at. Simply, I would say that probably in about 20 to 50 years, we're going to see a change away from the traditional fossil fuels, where we no longer need to be pumping out oil from the core of the ground. And during that time period, we're going to have something else in our hands, and that is actually something that we're going to be talking, in our future calls as well. But I can tell you that we are already at Socium Development working on the next chapter of combustion fuels. We already have a few innovations in our table here, which are going to help us to make fuels, the current existing fuels, even more environmentally friendly. We are approaching this problem from the direction of trying to improve the air quality and reduce the amount of pollution coming from different types of fuels. That'll be the first step. And then as the second step from that, we are working on a totally different approach on creating these fuels. But that is something that we're going to be talking in the future calls. So to summarize this long opinion, I believe that energy created or electricity used in traffic is great. It's going to be with us, but it's not the solution for the future. Yeah. We should focus on building better fuels, combustion fuels, and better combustion engines. And that is the area where we from Socium Development are focusing, alongside of removing the plastic waste from our environment.
Yeah, but I think also, Jay, with respect to air travel, where we need kerosene to fly, the jets, and we would imagine that, there's going to be people moving around the planet, maybe not immediately on the same scale as what was, several months ago. But just to take a liter or half a liter in this case of crude oil out of the ground, you'd be getting, what is it, something like 6% kerosene or something?
About 4%.
Even 4%. It's not that you can refine a half a liter into 100% kerosene. It's actually, they have to distill it. It's fractional distillation. There's part of it is diesel, part of it is petroleum, part of it is tar and bitumen used for the roast, but 4%. So from every liter, they're actually only be able to make 4%. So the question would be, if you're needing that fuel, that kerosene to fly, because you can't fly on batteries, it just wouldn't work. Certainly not in the foreseeable future. So we're going to absolutely need kerosene to power the air freight and everything else, even if we did go 100% electric in traffic. But the thing is, what are you going to do with the other 96% that's produced from the, you're going to find other uses for that as well. Of course, it wouldn't be smart.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Whenever the jet fuel for the airplanes is created, you always, as you said, you always end up with other forms of fuels as well. You always end up with diesel. You always end up with gasoline, if you want it or not, and it's going to be there. And the reality is that air travel, once we get through this episode of this virus now, the air travel will come back online, and the kerosene is going to be needed. And whenever we create kerosene, we are also creating the other types of fuels. And if they're not burned or used at the gasoline tanks or the diesel tanks of the cars, they're going to be used somewhere else. And as you said, the battery-based flying is currently not possible, at least with the foreseeable future. The problem is that the batteries simply weigh too much, that if you wanted to fly a commercial airplane, you wouldn't have space in the airplane for anything else except for the batteries. They weigh too much for the compared to the amount of energy that they give for the engines to fly.
Yes.
So that is a big limitation, and that's something that will keep these airplanes flying on kerosene for many, 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 many years to come. And as a result of that, when that kerosene is needed, also other fuel products are being produced. And as I said, our intention and our target from Socium Development is to create ways to purify those fuels and make them more environmentally friendly, more effective. And obviously, all of these operations that we do are directly linked to the value and the demand of the token. So we are all in a very good situation. We're moving to the right direction, and we're very happy that you're all part of this mission.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you, Jay. But just to finish off one more time, because it's great having a chat with you. It's like we hang out sometimes when we have a talk, and before you know it, it's whatever time in the morning. It's like that, just having you here in a very informal, relaxed forum. You were telling us the other evening that you were in a restaurant in Bangkok. It seems that the city's opening up again, and your knives and forks, your cutlery was delivered to you in the plastic little bag. And this also, is something that I've been saying, that's not something that happened before. This is now what people are more or less demanding after, this whole situation, is that they want to know that their cutlery is protected from maybe any airborne, things that could, compromise their health. But also in the supermarkets, I believe, and everybody is going to be doing shopping. I mean, this is just something that we do on a daily basis. It's not that we buy an iPhone once every 2 years and it's wrapped in plastic. No, we're buying our groceries, our shopping every couple of days for our families and everything else. Everybody's doing this, and people are demanding, the communities are demanding that their food is now protected from any airborne things that can harm them. So you're seeing things that weren't wrapped before in plastic now being wrapped in plastic, everything I think is going to be wrapped in plastic to protect, give the consumer. I know that, you know, before you have your cheese, your bacon, your salami, always wrapped in plastic, but now we're seeing other things, just everything, you know, wrapped in plastic. So the timing for us as well now, there's even more of a need for what we're doing is taking away this plastic. We're going to see an increase in plastic. I know that we're becoming more aware of our waste and environmental impact and stuff like this, but we need solutions to deal with this. This is the point. So I think for us, you know, in the network, you know, today when people talk about, oh, well, we're becoming more aware of the plastic and all this, yeah, but we're also using more plastic, so we need more solutions. So timing, again, is something that's always in business. Timing is the most important thing, to be in the right place at the right time. And is there anything you'd just like, you know, to share with the people now before, you know, we wrap this up, because they've been very patient. Everybody's stayed on now for about an hour and a half, so they've been wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, exactly what you said. I mean, what happened during this virus outbreak was that home delivery services, eating home but having your food delivered from a restaurant, all kinds of delivery services skyrocketed in the last couple of months. And at the same time, because people are worried about their safety, these how would I say, thoughts about protecting the environment by using less plastic, these ideas in many cases went straight out the window. We have seen a global, massive, skyrocketing increase of single plastic usage. Just think about these face masks. Where are they created from? Think about all the plastic and rubber gloves and all of these single protective gears and suits and everything that the hospitals and the medical industry, the medical professionals are wearing. That's all single-use plastic. And as you said, Peter, people are now automatically expecting that their utensils and even the glassware and other things that they receive are wrapped in plastic so that they are being protecting themselves better. So instead of having a decrease on the plastic use, this year, 2020, is going to be the year when the plastic use is going to increase again. So even here in Thailand, I just read a new research that about 2 years ago, the plastic usages in Thailand generated about 2.5 million tons of plastic waste per year. And right now we're about 3.5 million tons per year. So 2 million tons a couple of years ago, now we're about 3.5 million tons a year in plastic waste. And I'm very, very anxious to see where we're going to be in the year's time and how this is all going to play out. But the reality is that because of the home deliveries, because of all of these single-use plastic usage, we're going to see a huge increase in plastic waste globally. And as before, until right now, the only solutions for treating this problem has been to either burn the plastic waste or dump it into the landfill. We are bringing the solution where the problem is. And that's why our whole concept, as I said before, is built on creating these partnerships. And again, if you have a location in your mind, you know someone who operates or owns a landfill or a waste management facility, please get in touch with us. Let's see if there's a way for us to create some collaboration and bring the solution where the problem is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, when we go back, you know, a few years, you know, I know you're a young whippersnapper, as they say, but back when I was growing up, you know, we didn't have the recycling of glass bottles, you know, aluminium cans and, you know, metal and stuff. And then, you know, that came into play. And then we start to see, you know, these bins, you know, in, you know, areas where in villages and in shopping centers even, and communities where there'd be several houses. We would see these bins where people could take their glasses, their clear glass, their brown glass, their aluminium cans and everything else. So wouldn't it be fantastic where we could have one of these units or projects set up for a community? We don't necessarily need to put it in the middle of the community, but put it maybe somewhere where it would be outside the community, but that would be serving that community to take away their plastic waste. I'm sure with the amount, as you're saying, that's going to be produced in the future, that we could have an infrastructure of projects all over the world, all over so the potential is huge, and it just makes sense that we should be doing more to clean up the mess that we're making, not contributing and making the mess and just putting it in some landfill or burning it, and emissions going into the air and stuff like this. So this is great to connect and get this information, and be able to share this information and educate the people, and just give us the confidence that we're really in the right place at the right time. So Jay, I thank you really on behalf of everyone on the call today, and everybody listening in for your contribution. As I say, it's very educational listening to you, and we will hopefully have this out very quickly on YouTube, and people can follow it, but also maybe for other languages like the French and Italian and other countries, we get subtitles in German and stuff, because it is really valuable information, and we can keep referring to it. And there's so many things we've talked about today. Also, we've got our business is now accelerating, and that's because of the people know what you've been doing is real. We know that the projects are real. We know that they're sustainable. They know that we're getting results. We know that everything is on track. And we've got one more week of an amazing promotion. So I'd just like to remind everybody, look, make use of the promotion that's running this week, and just get out there and build your business and help other people do the same. And let's create history with what we're doing here. Makes us immensely proud to be associated with such a great project, and everything else, and some wonderful people. And you're assembling a great team, support team with the Socium development there. So we've had a great day, Jay. I really thank you so much. I think everybody has had all the questions asked. Stefan's been doing a great job there, answering questions, typing in the background. So he's been doing his work today. Frank, who was on the call earlier, has had to pop off. And, again, Frank is doing an amazing job just getting done whatever's necessary. And that's I suppose, the signal that we're sending out here, that you and Frank and Staffan and everybody else just do what's necessary. You just do what's needed, and just to get the job done, because there is a big job to do. There's no discussion about that. And I think it's then our responsibility also to get out there and to get the job done. And there's an old saying that you can't make excuses and make money at the same time. So it's either one or the other. So let's get out there and promote this, bring it to the world through our activity with the network, and let's get more funding together for to kick off these projects, which is an absolutely worthy goal and a great future. So Jay, thank you once again for being with us, and thank you also everybody who's joined us on the call today from all over the world, from so many countries. And I see so many beautiful faces in all these little windows, all smiling faces. Look at everybody smiling. Wow, this is tremendous. So you're making a lot of people happy, and that's because of the project that we're doing. So great job, everybody, and thank you. It's a pleasure to work with many of you and to build relationships and to get to know you and help you realize your goals, your dreams, because, as I say, this is a great project to be involved with. So thank you all once again. Jay, thank you especially for taking your time and sharing your knowledge.
Thank you very much, Peter. thank you very much, everyone on the call. And I also want to say thank you for Frank and Staffan. Obviously, we were all working very closely together, and the collaboration that we have formed in the last few months has been tremendous, and very grateful to be working with strong and very wonderful people on this amazing journey. Thank you, Peter, and thank you for on my behalf for all the great leaders and all of you followers and members around the world, and we're doing this together. So thank you all.
Yeah, great job, everybody. It saddens me to sign off, but you know, we got to do other things on Sunday as well. I'm gonna get into the gym here now, so you know, get the body, you know, exercised. We got the mind exercise, so let's work on, you know, making ourselves bigger and stronger and everything else that we need to do to make this a wonderful success. So thank you, Jay, and take care, everyone, and we'll see you all pretty soon. Take care.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.